Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. In today's video, we are going to be talking about something very important, because a lot of people ask me this question is why are my succulents dying, whereas the succulents in their natural habitat tend to do quite well. Now guys, you need to understand first, one is you are from a very different environment. You have purchased a particular succulent that has come from a very different environment, and you have a very different environment. There is a reason why certain succulents are not found throughout the world. You know, they are distributed throughout the world. You might find succulents growing in the rainforest. You might find succulents growing high in the mountains. You might find succulents growing probably not completely in a desert area, but somewhat similar to a desert area. You might even find succulents that tend to grow near the beach. Yes, the ones that tend to grow near the beach in California are the variety of Dudleyias. They tend to grow very close to the coastal area, very close to the beach, because they are kind of evolved, or they have acclimated, or they have kind of grown naturally in that environment. So succulents are found throughout the world, again depending upon if they are able to survive in that environment. You won't find a particular variety of succulent that will grow everywhere. So a lot of people, what they do is they tend to generalize. When I tell them that the heat is too much, that's why the succulent is dying. So then the question they ask me is, but succulents are meant to be grown in full sun. In nature, they tend to grow in full sun. Now that is something that's a misconception that a lot of people have. Not all succulents, you cannot generalize that all of the succulents will be growing in an arid condition. They have evolved in such a way that they have started growing in that kind of an environment. Probably there is an succulent that might be growing in rainforest, but at the same time it might not be in a place where it gets a lot of water. So it again depends upon which variety you are growing and where it's growing. Now for example, here I have a couple of aguides and champagnes. Now these are champagnes and rest of them are Echeveria aguides. This is my Echeveria fire pillar. This is the molded wax aguides. This is aguides lipstick, and this is aguides psyche. Now the ones that I've named just now, all of these succulents are hybrid succulents, which means that they have been genetically modified, either because of the leaf structure or because of the colors. To make it more attractive, they have been genetically modified, or basically they have been created into hybrids so that they can be very attractive and sold off to customers. Now you will not find any of these varieties in this color in nature, because they have been created into hybrids. These will not be found in nature, because remember guys, in nature it's all about survival and being camouflaged. You cannot have a very brightly colored succulent like this. Either it is going to be destroyed or it's going to be poached. If a person tends to see a succulent like this growing, it will no longer be in that same place. People are going to take it out and sell it off. In nature, it's all about trying to balance with the colors that are around. But yes, there are certain plants and there are certain vertebrates or animals that would have these striking colors. That's basically to keep the predators away. The brightly colored animals, or let's say insects, they are basically putting out those colors to keep the predators away, saying that they are poisonous. But when you tend to see succulents like these will never be able to handle that kind of high temperatures like 45 degrees Celsius, because I was talking to someone a few days back and they said that the temperature in their city reaches above 45 degrees Celsius during summers. Now your aguides are not going to survive that much of heat. They will start to either get rotted, dehydrated, or they will just, burn out. So you need to understand, you cannot generalize that every succulent is capable of handling that much of heat. Yes, there are certain varieties of succulents. I will put the picture on the screen. For example, the Echeveria chuainensis, which is found naturally in Mexico. This succulent will be able to handle a little bit of heat, or probably a little bit of intensity of light, because it's a natural variety of succulent. It is much more stronger. Whereas if I'm going to put my aguides or champagne in that same kind of location with that much of heat, definitely this will not survive for too long. Probably few days or week it might do well, but eventually it will start to die, because one, hybrids are very weak as compared to the natural varieties. They have never faced the the wild, or they have never faced the natural conditions what the natural varieties of succulents tend to face. These are basically grown in farms or labs or under controlled temperatures. Probably they might have never seen a temperature above 30 degrees Celsius. We are not very sure, because it depends from labs to labs. A lot of these succulents do come from from Korea, or they might come from a place wherein it's much more cooler compared to the other parts. Now, a person growing aguides in a place wherein there is a lot of humidity, the heat is too much, then definitely they are not going to do quite well. As I've spoken about this earlier as well, especially for beginners, aguides is something that you do not want to get it initially, because there are a lot of things related with it. One is that they prefer a good amount of natural light. So when we are talking about natural light, it means that you have to keep your succulents outdoor. Now, when you're going to keep your succulents outdoor, you have to ensure that the environment is dry, is cool, doesn't get too much heated. So if you are a beginner, if you do not have a lot of space outside, it is going to be a little tricky for you to grow them indoor. So there are a lot of factors that come into picture, especially when you're growing hybrid succulents. And always remember, these naturally genetically modified hybrid succulents will not be able to withstand that high temperatures. They will not be able to do quite well. So you need to understand, when you are about to buy a succulent, do a little bit of research whether your environment, is it too hot, is it too humid, will they survive, do I have the enough amount of light to provide them. So these are all the important factors that you need to question yourself before you buy succulents. Now, for example, I had put some pictures on Facebook, and then a lot of people were asking that we want to buy the succulents. Now, I'm sure you want to buy the succulents because of that beautiful colors, but I cannot guarantee that once you buy the succulent, if you are going to grow it in your place, will it have the same amount of color? That's something very questionable, because it's not necessary that you might also have the same type of color, because these succulents, they have grown in my environment with a good amount of light. I provide them with good amount of light. I give them a lot of care. I ensure that they do not get too wet in the rain. So it would be very wrong to generalize that all of the succulents would do quite well in full hot sun, whereas some succulents will not. Probably a mild morning sunlight will do quite well, just like my aguides, but they will not be able to handle a lot of direct afternoon sunlight, especially during the summers, and they won't be able to handle too much of rain. So it's very wrong to generalize that all of the succulents have the same growing conditions. Yes, succulents do belong to an arid condition. That's the reason why they tend to store water in their leaves, because they do not have a lot of water. So we need to replicate something like that. But when it comes to sunlight, you have to be very, very careful about the temperature, because probably most of the succulents, the natural varieties of succulents that tend to grow in an environment, it might not be very hot, it might not be very humid, it might be dry, it might be cooler. And when we are talking about these succulents, these variant of succulents like the aguides and champagnes, they have never seen the natural conditions. They haven't seen too much of heat, and that's the reason why when you get these succulents in a place where there is high humidity and too much of heat, they don't do quite well. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.